Hello, folks. You might remember me. I was here doing consultation back in 2022, 23, running over like from September into March of that year. That's when we were doing consultation to put the place plan together. And that is the place plan, which you can see in the library in town, and it's online. If you look at Stranraer Development Trust's website, you can see it there if you want to look at it. There's also a huge big fat appendix section that goes with that, because there's quite a lot of information in it. But we did various sessions at here and at other meetings and gatherings to get people's ideas. So I'm just going to run you through briefly where we're at. So it's called All Rise in the Tide because it's on the basis of like there's this wave of change coming for Stranraer at the moment. And when you look at all these various projects that are on the go, there's about £50 million hanging about out there that's going to be invested in Stranraer. So it's like really amazing time for the town. And the place plan is a 10-year vision. So it runs from 2023 when it came off the printing press, and it was adopted by the council, and it's the first one in the area to be adopted by the council. So it was, you know, very well received, and we got about a third of the local population to engage in that consultation process. So we were very pleased with that. And for people who may not know it, I've left a little leaflet on your tables there that's a wee mini version, this little thing. So this is what I'm going to be showing you on the slides. So please feel free to take away. It's a nice wee, I can't afford to give you copies of that away, but I can afford for you to take these ones away, so please do. But you can see there's a big picture plan for the town that we captured in the place plan. And not everything that's in the place plan is coming. Some of it was already on the go. There were pipeline projects like the George Hotel, which the council's driving, and the Water Sports Centre, which the Water Sports Association's driving. These things were already happening. So what we were trying to do in that place plan process was engage with all these other things and make sure that we're all aiming towards the same goal here. So we were taking cognizance of all those other things. So in the process, we kind of split the town into quarters. And so the one big bit is that one waterfront. And that's really going to be flagship for the town in terms of the change that's happening here. So it covers the Water Sports Centre, the Unexpected Garden, the Marina expansion, which Lauren's going to talk about, the coast-to-coast cycle route. We are the starting point for that, and it goes all the way over to the east coast. And, you know, in the high summer months, they hope to get about 400 cyclists leaving from Stranraer to go on that cycle route. The Scamp Marine Research Centre, Jan touched on that. The East Pier, which is a whole other thing that we'll touch on, and an active travel hub. So those were the kind of things that people were interested in seeing and making sure worked for the town. We've called the next quarter Uptown, which is our groovy name for that bit of town that's got the George Hotel and the museum and the library. Oh, let's jump to a wee bit. And the Millennium Centre's there, so it's got this performance bit for the town and a meeting space for the town. And partly there, we're looking to encourage people to return to city centre or town centre living, because as you know, everybody's town centre has been so diminished over the last decade. People have just it's been hard to keep independent shops going, and so things have kind of gone out from most town centres, so we're trying to bring life back. The enterprise zone is more scattered across the town, but it covers the shops to the reuse centre. And also like the Rhine Centre actually does quite a lot in that space, and Dix Hill. And then Sanctuary, as was mentioned there, is that rewilding space. And from our point of view, for the place plan, when we were talking to people, one of the needs that came up a lot was nursery places for children, so that parents get the opportunity to get back out to work if they want. And we do train people, nursery nurses at the college here, but they need more places to be able to go and take up jobs. So that's where we began to look at what if there was an outdoor nursery that tied in with what was happening at that sanctuary space. And so in the process of developing the place plan, these are the partners. And I think quite often one of the difficulties in the town is knowing who the people are that are doing the things, because lots of us pop up here and go, hello, talk about things, and off we go, and you're like, who was that? Why are they here? And how do we find them? Stranraer Development Trust in orange at the top there, that's the sort of key anchor organisation for the place plan. And it's important to identify somebody that can be the grown-up in the room that can take the money when it comes through, because all of this has been driven by our ability to bid for Borderlands funding. And Stranraer Development Trust, when we get the funding, which I'm confident we will, it can come into their bank account. But those other organisations are key partners as part of all of this, the Community Council and the Millennium Centre, Water Sports Association, the Community Reuse Shop, Creative Stranraer, which is developed as we were doing the plan. And then there's a town team. So there's people who represent, activities, enterprise, cycling, wellness, growing, different activities that are in that town team. And if anybody's got a burning desire to be part of it, please come and say hello at the end, because we'd always be interested to talk to people. And so the funders at that bit of partnership, Borderlands has a fund, we hope, for £3 million earmarked for the town. And that was like waiting to see if we could get a good plan together, which it is considered we've done, and it's been adopted by the council. There's a process then that we've been going through to try and get that money released. And so you might be wondering what's been happening since we developed this plan, because it was handed in. We developed it for the 31st of March 2023, and then it went to a process of consultation, and then it's been going through a process of getting the investment plan attached to this. So there's quite a lot of backroom work that's been going on. But it's with the funders, and we had hoped that we would hear in October, but we're now, fingers crossed, we'll hear in December. I think we've got a strong indication that's when we're going to hear. Dumfries and Galloway Council has been a tremendous supporter all the way along in this, giving us as a town a lot of support and help to get the plan together. They also, as I said, they're driving the George Hotel, for example, and the marine expansion. There's a hell of a lot of work going on within the council to support the town. And South of Scotland Enterprise equally has put a lot of effort into giving the town resources that it needs to put all this together. And then top orange there, obviously, local people. So we've been going around trying to get local people involved, and that's what came up with all the ideas that's in that plan. And when we talked to people, there were loads and loads of things, obviously, that came up for different people with different interests. And we went through a process of funneling them and picking some priorities, and people voted on them. And then we did the consultation that ranked them. So in the voting, these are the projects that we went for at the end of the day. So the top one there is a big makeover. So that's about improving the streetscape, landscape, how the town's looking. And Jan, again, has done great work, Janet, like with the mural in town, those bits of work that are really eye-catching and begin to signal change. So within that Borderlands 3 million that we're looking for, the first figure there, 300,000, that's the amount of money that we've allocated notionally in the plan, in the investment plan that we want for the big makeover. But with everything, for the 300,000 that we hope to get from Borderlands, that would then lever 3 times that potentially for some of them out of somewhere else. If you get funding from this organisation, you can usually apply for match funding somewhere else. So we would hope for, there's also things like loans in there, different mechanisms for different bits of projects, but we would hope that would lever out other funding so that increases the package and the impact in the town. Sanctuary, that's 420,000, and then there's all the other stuff that like Nick's working on, Nick Chisholm that has been mentioned, other elements of the scheme that we are not looking at. We are looking at just the nursery bit of it, but we want to enhance what the sanctuary project's already looking at. Wellbeing Hub in Dix Hill. So that's a partnership project between a number of different organisations that exist already. So they've been working well on all of that. Town centre living, as I said, that's about trying to get some affordable housing in the town centre. The East Pier, now that is really going to be taken back into, that was top of the list. East Pier was top of the list for the town when we did our ranking, and the next one, Wet Weather Escapes, was next. But we knew from the get-go with this that that fund is not really set up to be funding leisure projects, but the council run leisure provision in the town, so it's likely that will actually be taken back over by the council for them to pursue that, but we've put money in for it. And the East Pier, again, it's one of those things, it's going to have to be escalated back up the line because Crown Estates own the pier, Stena owns bits of the pier, Network Rail own bits of the pier, and so it needs to be sort of moved up the chain a bit to get things moving. But if we get approval for this and we get some money out of it, that's going to be the trigger that, you know, begins to move in other spaces. And one of the things, when the ferries left all those years ago, Scottish Government had put £6 million aside for the town, and that money's still there. And so it's just like this will begin to be able to lever some of those other bits of funding out from government. So there's quite a lot that's going to happen in there. And again, we'll be able to report back as things move on from here. And once we hear from Borderlands in December what's going to happen. And so some of the figures that are attached to this when we think about the benefits that the changes might bring, there could be like around 60,000 additional visitors to the town a year. And I think one of the important things is about regenerative tourism. So we don't want to bring people here to make a mess of our lovely area, and the Scamp project's very much about that. I was working with Jan on that last year, and that was maybe one of the top concerns of people. Like, yes, lovely people come and visit our lovely 200-mile Solway coast, but don't wreck it. And so it's about getting infrastructure in place so that we can bring people in, but in the best way possible to make sure the environment's looked after. There's a potential 65 jobs within these projects at the moment. There's a potential 15% increase for businesses in the area because of the things that we'll be bringing in. There's use of vacant and derelict sites, and we're doing a tour of the town with some folk on the 26th of November to look at some of those spaces to see what we can do. And then it could enhance 100,000 square metres of public spaces. So again, it's kind of like the work that Janet's been doing, where you identify where there are little pockets of spaces, like you could have a pocket garden, or you could improve an alleyway, or you could paint a mural. So there's lots of things that we can do. Some of the areas where the council's vacant and derelict register person's going to come with us, because there are some spaces that we can't really get involved in because they're privately owned. But where we can identify ownership and we can identify land that can be used, we'll be doing that. And so in summary, you know, the place plan was written back in 22, 23 with people's help. It went into Borderlands. We've been doing this town investment plan process in the meantime. That's all gone into the funders now. And so now we're at that kind of ready, steady, and any minute go, hopefully, that we hope we will find out we get the money. And so we're in the meantime right now, we're looking at other models of good practice to get a bit more meat on the bones of the projects that are in here, to look at good practice in other bits of Scotland and looking in Ireland, to develop those outline business cases, to identify our other areas of funding, and we're confident we'll be able to loosen other bits of purse from the money that we raise, and to clarify who's going to be the owner for each of those projects, like who's going to run this, who would look after the nursery, who's going to take care of that. And we'll be consulting on that. And hopefully we'll have something to come back to the vision and action, and that Janet will be looking at dates for next year. because we want just everything to be kind of ready, that if Borderlands come back in December and say, okay, you've got your money, that we're actually in quite a strong position to get on to the next stage, so that by spring, you know, we can be going with a lot of these projects. And in the meantime, when we were doing the place plan, first time round, there was a voting platform on Stranraer Development Trust site, and there is one there now, it's called Commonplace. So there are different surveys on there. You know, when there was survey stuff to be done in the East Pier, that was put on there. So I would urge you to go onto the Development Trust's website and just check out what you can do on there and sign up. And I've put forms on the table, so if you don't currently get information from the Development Trust, if you want to leave your name and email, we can add you onto the list. And it's always worth just, you know, like and follow the Development Trust online, and you'll keep up to date with what's happening. Janet's obviously been fantastic at sharing information as we go, as she does with all the kind of general projects for the town. So if anybody's got any questions, we'll maybe chat it. If you've got anything to ask for everybody, please do. But if anybody wants to chat at the end, we can do that.